Okay, welcome everyone to the first episode, which I hope to be of many episodes where I discuss certain aspects and tools to increase resilience and everyday stress. And in the first episode, I'm going to be talking about this idea of being mindful and the impact that being mindful and mindfulness can have on the mind and subsequently the body. So first of all, I'm going to discuss the definition of what is mindfulness. And mindfulness is actually found by this founder known as John Kabat-Zinn, and he is really what you again describe as the founder of mindfulness. In his research, what he found was that in adapting a mindfulness stress reduction program. So what he did was he had patients from various demographics, some with chronic pain, some severely disabled, to those who suffer from mental health. And what he did was he set up an 8-week program, and every week participants had to come in and engage in a mindfulness exercise. And basically, each mindfulness exercise consisted of usually a 10-15 minute exercise where the participants were focusing on one aspect of being mindful. Now, for those of you who are familiar with mindfulness, there are many ways of being mindful. And as an example, participants may have been asked to sit for 10 to 15 minutes and just focus on their breath. And the idea is that you let thoughts come in and out, and all you do is you focus on your breath. You don't judge your thoughts. If you suffer from chronic pain, you see pain as pain that appears, and you sit with the emotion rather than trying to resist it or judge it or add to it. And basically, through an 8-week program, what this researcher found was that participants who initially suffered from chronic pain, anxiety, depression, later actually had reductions in all these symptoms. And this was kind of bizarre. It's just like, how could just sitting in a chair once a week for 8 weeks reduce your pain, your perception of pain? It doesn't make any sense. What was interesting is what the researchers found was that when they did brain scans of images of individuals who participated in mindfulness stress reduction, they actually found that there was different activation of different brain regions, particularly brain regions that we know are involved in things like emotion regulation, things like our pain, areas that are much different than when the participants started this program. And what's interesting is that they found that these effects lasted for participants even if they did not continue with the mindfulness each day. Now, mindfulness, again, is this idea of being present. And there are various ways, again, of being present. For example, again, we talked about meditation, as meditation is one example of trying to cultivate mindfulness. And that's the idea that you, in periods of the day, basically shut down aspects of your day. You close your eyes and you essentially sit in a space and allow everything that you're experiencing in your body and your mind to just be as it is, which is very challenging, especially those when you start out, to sit with all of that. Of course, we're so used to distracting ourselves from those thoughts, from those feelings with other ways that we deem are healthy, like overachieving or working or getting into some other hobby or activity or some way of distracting ourselves. So we very seldomly actually sit with ourselves and allow all those thoughts that we don't even realize are going on in our heads on a daily basis. Just be present. And the idea is that by allowing ourselves to be present with thoughts and emotions, we develop a sort of strengthening of our resilience in our brains to tolerate those emotions and those feelings and those thoughts. And then the important idea behind mindfulness is that we're in an area of, or space of non-judgment. And why this is particularly important, and why you'll see that this also connects to other episodes, is because often what happens is with emotions, with things that happen, with pain, with events, with things that are tough, it's easy to then add a layer of what we call a layer of suffering that we can intentionally, sometimes not intentionally, add to the event. So it's important to always practice non-judgment. And a good example of this is something very simple. You know, you wake up one day, let's say you have toast for breakfast, and put the toaster down, you go and do other things, you totally forget about it, you come back and your toast is burnt. Now, there are two different ways you potentially react to the situation. The first and a harmful way you can react is you go to yourself, oh, such an idiot. I wish I never left the toast on. I should have been there. I can't believe I burnt it. What a waste. This is terrible. So that's one way of responding. And you can imagine if you respond like that, that's then going to activate an area of your body that's going to initiate more stress. And so you can see just by your thoughts in that one situation, you're activating negative emotions. On the second hand, let's say that same event happened, and instead you approached it, you said, oh, it's very unfortunate that I burnt the toast. I clearly, next time shouldn't be doing so many different things at the same time. But it's okay, just put another piece of toast in, and that's fine. And you could see that second scenario can initiate a totally different response, much calmer, much more compassionate to yourself. You're less judgmental. You're not placing blame. You're just experiencing the situation for what it is. And that's what the combination of being present and being non-judgmental does, is you approach everyday situations with much more calm and ease, because you don't try to predict what's going to happen. You don't get caught up with what's happening, because you realize what is happening, and you have to deal with the situation for what it is. And we don't add that additional layer of thoughts, of judgment, of harshness to ourselves, and we don't be critical. And by doing this, by being present, by focusing on being present each day, by focusing on non-judgmental mindfulness practice, we can actually develop and become better in everyday situations. This could be at work, handling work-related stresses, handling relationships at work. This could be at home, dealing with children, with your husband or wife, or significant other, dealing with issues that arise in everyday life, like significant life events, just dealing with everyday situations, things that pop up that inevitably will throw us off our track. And mindfulness allows us to essentially ride the wave of life. Life is never going to be a smooth sail. There's always going to be waves. And mindfulness allows you to see the wave as a wave, knowing that eventually you're going to reach a maximum where it's going to be bad, but eventually the wave will come down. and the tide and everything will soften, and eventually the wave will disappear.